So this is where it gets exciting, because this is where we get to connect the bike to the VanMoof app, and it gets to join the illustrious ranks of, amongst others, the 2016 Electrified S in my VanMoof garage. Before we do this, before we go down this route, if you're doing this for yourself, you need to download the VanMoof app from the Apple App Store or from the Google Play Store. It's a free download, and you will need it to set up your bike. It's not possible to set up the bike without having a copy of the VanMoof app, so you need to do that first. Now this is where it gets a little complex, because I'm actually filming on the phone that I would normally use to connect to the app. So I've got a secondary phone here, which is this one, and we're going to set up the app on this phone, hopefully as we go through this process. So I'm just going to log into this phone, and you can see I've already downloaded the VanMoof app. So what we'll do, we'll go into the app, we'll choose Garage, and in a moment we'll add a new bike. Now before we do that, we need to plug the bike in, so we need to plug it into the charger. Now what I find interesting about this charger, first of all, it's slightly smaller than previous generations of chargers. It's not quite mobile phone size, but it's certainly a small laptop sized charger, and it's also earthed. The power supply is also earthed. Now previous generations that you can see, some of the previous generations here, this is from the S1, were a 2-pin power supply. They were not earthed. And I certainly believe in previous generations that was one of the reasons for spurious electrical problems. This charger is much better built. It's a 3-pin, so it's an earthed power supply. And the first thing we're going to do is plug the bike in. So we go to the charging port, there it is at the back. We'll just unplug that or lift that up, and we'll plug the power cable in here. Now, when we click it in, that should be in. I didn't hear an audible indication that it's charging, so I'll just kind of trust that that's okay. And you can see here, you can see that the halo lights have just illuminated. Now they are blue at the moment, and they're kind of breathing, which I guess is a very good sign. Not going to say it means, there we go. The classic VanMoof sound. Now the left halo is doing something interesting here. I'm not quite sure what it's doing. It might be showing the battery level. In fact, I think it is showing the battery level. So we're just going to go on and connect it to the app now. Let me go into this. We'll click Add New. And what I understand from the book is it should immediately pick it up. So we need to scan the QR code, and I'm just going to do that now very, very quickly. I'm not going to do that on camera because you can see the code, and it's potentially private information. You do want to keep that to yourself, because it's information that you will need if you need to re-register the bike or register it as stolen. So I'm just going to move the camera away for 1 second, and you can look at the toolbox and other information while I scan the QR code. And this is the QR code that you would find on the back of the manual. And you can hear that it's just been scanned correctly. There we go. So it's doing this. And it says it's going to connecting, so Bluetooth connecting, pair, and I'm going to start filming now. It says I need to create an unlock code. So what I'm going to do, I'll create an unlock code here, and we will do very simply 1, 2, and 3. And I, of course, will change this to my own personal code later on, but we'll keep it for now. We'll keep this to 1, 2, and 3. One last thing, what are we going to call the bike? I'm going to call it very simply, for now, I'm going to call it Dan's S5. I'll come back with something more imaginative later when we've done that. So there we go, Dan's S5. We'll look at that. I'm going to keep an eye on the halo bars here. It says registration complete, ready to ride. And I suspect as soon as I tap let's go, something may well happen here. So it says connected now. It says connected on the app, and it's got 95% battery, and we are ready to go. So nothing happened. I mean, on the S3, we had the fireworks, of course, on the matrix display, and all of that was incredible. I haven't seen anything like that on the S5. It seems to be far more low key. Okay, so I think it's time to fire this thing up. Now, to get started, what we're going to do, first of all, we're going to unplug the power supply. This one's at 95%. It arrived at 95%, which I think is a very, very good thing. By the way, I'm not convinced by this, if I'm honest. I can kind of see the logic for a more robust charging port, but this one, it doesn't seem to fit very positively. It's kind of a, is it in or isn't it? I'm not quite sure. It needs a good old pull to get it out. So we'll see if that loosens up over time. but it's a small thing regardless. Okay, so what we're going to do, we'll power it up. Now this is a single click power on. So what I did the last time is I pressed and held the button in, which you're used to doing on the S3. It takes maybe half a second to turn it on, and this really isn't, or at least it wasn't just now. So it's really a one click. And you can see that. So you can see a multitude of things. So you can see the halo ring spin there, and the other one was doing exactly the same thing. So it's got a bit of a breathing activity going on there that you just saw. And the other thing that I heard was a click down here, of course, from the kick lock. So we're going to turn that off again. I'm going to turn that off. Very nice, those halo lights, very nice indeed. And what I'm going to do is just move the camera down here so that you can hear the click lock. And this is the kick lock, sorry. And this is, of course, is the automatic disengaging of the kick lock. So I'll turn it on now and have a listen to this. So that double click that you heard there, that's the kick lock disengaging itself, ready to be ridden. Of course, the rear halo light and the front light are fully on. And this bike is ready to ride. So what a beast. I can't wait to try this out tomorrow. Now let's have a play around with the settings. And obviously you can see here in the app, let me just go back into the app, that we can play around with the power settings here. You don't actually see any feedback on the handlebars of the bike while you're doing this. So I'm changing these, and you don't actually see it on the right-hand side. I was expecting that you'd see something here on the halo, and you don't actually see it. So let me see if I can change it here on the handlebar. Nope. This is the bell, I believe. Yeah, that's the bell. The power level, and it could be because I'm not riding that it's not allowing me to do that, because of course I can change it from the app, and I can change the various other settings as well from the app, and all of that works absolutely fine. For some reason, changing the power level here, it works on the bike and it works through the app, but it doesn't seem to work through this. So I could be doing something wrong, maybe I am, and equally maybe that could be, oh, something happened. There we go, that's why. Me being a little too used to the old ways of doing things. So it's actually the secondary button. It's actually the one down here that changes the power level, that we can see that. So it's off, level 1, level 2, level 3, and of course, mental full power that we've got going on there. So interesting use there of the secondary buttons that we can see. On this left-hand side, what else do we have? Oh, that's interesting. So press and hold that button there, and it does that, which is a very interesting way of getting attention when you're on the road. I love that. I have to say, I absolutely love that. So press and hold this bottom button here, and it flashes the rear headlight. Is it doing the same with the brake light? No, it's not doing the same with the brake light. It's just doing that with the headlight. But that is a brilliant way of getting attention if you don't want to use the horn or you don't want to use the bell, but you do want to get attention of your fellow road users to do that. Now, if I press and hold this, let's see what happens. It's a musical bike, which is very nice. And that, of course, is the boost button. This big one here will be the boost button while we're doing that. So it's my mistake for messing around with old versus new on that one. And that appears to be it. So very, very simple, very intuitive once you get used to it. I'm intrigued to see what the shifter is going to be like tomorrow. We'll have a play around with that and see how that goes. Right, one thing I am going to do just before I sign off is I'm going to put the wheel to its locking position here. And I'm going to turn off the bike. And I'm going to press in the kick lock there. So the kick lock is now locked, the bike is alarmed, and we are now ready to go. And of course, because I'm very close to this, when I turn it on, what is it doing? I have no idea what it's doing. Let's have a look. Okay, power on. So that was entering the unlock code there. And of course, the kick lock has disengaged itself down there. So very, very well thought out. I'm thoroughly enjoying this. I'm not quite sure what this breathing light that it's doing here is. I do like it. It's very Star Trek-y. And I guess we'll find out what that means as time goes on. And if anybody knows, then of course you can add a comment to this video and say, hey, I know what those Star Trek lights are doing. Brilliant. Right. For now, let's turn the bike off, send it back to sleep, and I will say goodbye for this video, and I'll see you on the next one when we go for a test ride outside. It's a bit wet and miserable at the moment, but we'll take it out tomorrow and see what happens, and I'll give you my thoughts on that as well. Okay, bye for now.